Is Dylan van Baarle to Jumbo-Visma the biggest move this season?
Yes.
Is UAE Team Emirates strong enough to compete against the Jumbo-Visma squad at the Tour de France?
Yes.
Will Soudal Quickstep be able to battle against the biggest teams during the classics?
No.
And will Alpecin de Koning have a problem in the Grand Tour mountain stages?
Yes.
I've got the spores, the sickness. There's the twins in my brain.
Welcome back to Domestique Cycling Podcast. The new season is waiting just around the corner, so it's time to have a look at the biggest transfers. I'm once again doing that with my co-hosts Bram and Yves. Welcome, guys.
Hey, all.
How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Lots of interesting transfers happening this year, so ready to get into that.
What about you, Yves?
Yeah, looking forward to dive into the transfer list and see who made the biggest moves.
As you said, there has been a lot of movement the past few months. And Yves, you think Dylan van Baarle is the biggest move?
I think Dylan van Baarle is the biggest move, yeah, and I think all the transfers Jumbo-Visma did this winter are extremely strong, but Van Baarle is certainly the move of the transfer period for me.
No, definitely. And as well, the other couple moves from the Jumbo with Kelderman, Chatnik, and Valter. That's such a strong team now. Yeah, Van Baarle, definitely.
I can agree on Van Baarle, but there are some other transfers of Jumbo-Visma that I have some questions about. Like, what will be the role of Wilco Kelderman? He is coming from Bora as a leader of the team. Will he still be the leader at Jumbo?
He's a mountain domestique. If I've read the article about the Giro, he will be the last man for Roglic normally, if everything turns out well. And I think he settles with that because last year with Bora, he was domestique for Hindley as well. And he seemed quite happy and enjoying the fact he doesn't have the pressure on his shoulders to carry a team. So I think he will do a good job as a very good domestique, a super domestique.
Yeah, he was a good Grand Tour leader, but I don't think he was the rider who was going to win Grand Tours. Like, he was decent, but to win, some other guys, they're just too strong for him. So I think the role of super domestique might suit him perfectly.
Yeah, I think so as well. Like, you kind of see a similar story as with Geesink a couple of years ago, where that used to be the guy, the big Dutch hope. Now, really good, strong domestique, and I think Kelderman is probably heading down that same path.
Is the case of Attila Valter a bit similar to that of Kelderman?
I think it's difficult because Valter rode with Groupama. It's not the strongest team, or let's say he didn't get into their strongest team with Codu. He went to the Giro last year with high hopes because it started in Hungary. But I think we can say it was a bit disappointing. He wanted to wear pink even in the tricky first stage, and he didn't even come close. But I think there's a lot of talent still hidden, and he's only...
The question is, do you see him as a domestique as well, or is a free roll, might that be better for him?
It's too early to
he's only
to
24.
call him a domestique.
And is it possible to have a free role in the Grand Tour team of Jumbo-Visma?
It's always possible.
From the very beginning, like we've seen Sepp Kuss, he got his chance to win a stage, but that's mostly the case when the team leader is gone. No?
I mean, it could have like a similar role as what Van Aert has in the Grand Tour, where he's sent up the road and sort of an excuse for the rest of the team not to have to chase the breakaway. So I think he's very useful in that situation.
I don't think you can compare Walter with Van Aert.
No.
He will not get the freedom Van Aert gets, because Van Aert is in the team as one of the leaders, and he fights for green, for points, or for stages. And I don't think Walter will get the freedom Van Aert gets to attack every stage, go in the break, and see what happens.
And besides that, will other teams be afraid of him when he's in the breakaway? Like they're afraid when Van Aert goes up the road, but can't see that be the case with Attila Valter from the very beginning, actually.
They can become afraid, because before last season, I don't think a lot of people were afraid of Laporte, but the way he rode the season, everybody will be afraid of him right now, the upcoming season.
We've talked about the Grand Tour team of Jumbo-Visma, but they have a pretty strong Classics team as well, with some improvements, Dylan van Baarle and Jan Tratnik. You said Van Baarle is the biggest move, but what about Tratnik? What will his role be?
I think it's an interesting role. He does, like, during the World Championship, he was amazing for Slovenia, and like doing the front of the peloton for like multiple hours. So he's definitely able to do that work. But you of course have a couple of riders already in Jumbo that are doing that work, like Nathan van Hooijdonk or
Wout van Aert said he wanted to be in the final of multiple classics with as many teammates as possible. Do you think Tratnik is one of those guys, or do you see him as the Tim de Klerk of the team who's pulling the peloton?
I think he has the ability to be there, but I don't know if they're going to use him that way.
They might use him in the pre-final, so 100 kilometers to go. The race is exploding. There isn't really a team controlling, and then it's like we're gonna send him in the break or in a counter-attacking move. I think that will be his role.
He's proven that he's able to ride a final. I think it was Dwars door Vlaanderen last year, where he was in the final. So yeah, the guy has a big engine.
Yeah, certainly.
All right, we've talked about the riders who went into Jumbo-Visma, but there's also
I have one small question. Like, don't you fear there are too many leaders in their classics team? Like in the big races, Ronde van Vlaanderen, Paris-Roubaix, Gent-Wevelgem, they have like a couple of guys who can win it. And what if they are with 3 or 4 within the last 20k? Who's gonna ride for who?
I think they've proven the past year that they don't have to be afraid of each other. They're very strong together, and as we've seen, Quickstep, for example, in the time of Tom Bonen and Philippe Gilbert, Quickstep had a very strong team as well. So it could become a problem, but I don't see it that way, actually.
I mean, they had also a very good solution for that. The first one to go up the road is protected, and it's up to other teams to bring them back, and then they also bring back the rest of the team, and then someone else can go.
Exactly. As I've said, there's also a lot of movement out of Jumbo-Visma. To start with Pascal Eekhoorn, for example. He's going to Lotto Destiny. The team of Lotto, they could use some improvements for their classics team, but is Eekhoorn the one they were looking for?
I think he is. I really rate him high. I think he's a very good rider, and it's a good transfer for him. Like, he's going to a Pro Conti team. He will be leader or a protected rider for sure, and it's time to prove himself at the highest level right now. and I think he can
The
do
guy
it.
had a very good Giro d'Italia last year, but do you really see him as the big hitter of the big races?
I think for that team, it has to be Florian Vermeers, especially in the Flemish Classics. But having him as sort of a backup plan or like a shadow leader, I see him working out in that role.
Do you think Florian Vermeers will be the big guy of Lotto Destiny in the classics? Or I'm still missing the big name actually.
In the ones that don't make it to a sprint, yeah. Otherwise, there is Dilly or Ewan. Although I'm not really going to expect Ewan in the Flemish Classics, but
I think Dilly will show us even more than he did last year. I think in those hard races, I think he can compete even if it's sprinting in a 15-man group, 20-man group. I don't know which race it was last year. The Limburg Classic or the Volta Limburg Classic, where he just decided to attack himself as a sprinter on a hilly terrain together with Tom Dumoulin, etc. He showed he can make the race hard as well and not just wait on a sprint. And if he evolves the way he did last year, he will be certainly close to a big victory or even have a victory at the end of next season.
Do you think that will be the case in the big classics? Like, Nokere Koersen, those things?
I think he can win a big classic, yeah.
And what is a big classic?
Gent-Wevelgem, for example, is a big classic. I think Gent-Wevelgem is a big classic. I think he can win it.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, I'd even put him up for Milan-San Remo. So I think he's got a lot of talent in him that can...
Yeah, sure.
Last year was his first year. And if that is his level of progress in the Pro Peloton, I can see him win a really big race this year.
Did you see the
means
power?
we have a first take here. Arnaud
Did you
Delis
see the
for
power he
Gent-Wevelgem?
produced on training this week?
Nope.
I know it's training; it are just numbers, but it was like close to 1200 watts for a little minute. So if he does that, for example, on the Tienberg and unleashes his power, yeah, I think he will have he had a breakthrough season last year, but I think he's ready to shine next season.
Yeah. All right. Lotto Soudal, I was going to say Lotto Soudal, Lotto Destiny, of course, next season. Jacopo Guarnieri is one of the guys that went there.
Yeah, I think we talked about that in the last episode, where it is very unclear what that transfer is about at his age. Like, probably for a sprint train, but
Yeah, it's a replacement for Kluge, we know that, but I don't know how old he is. He's 37, 36. So he's only there for 2 or 3 years, like we discussed 2 weeks ago. Yeah, he's a good man for the sprint, but it doesn't. Yeah, I don't know.
it's not a long-term transfer. It's like a bandage for this year, perhaps. But
it's like, damn, Kluge is gone. We need someone else ASAP. They took one of the best. All right, but
yeah, but not the best. Quickstep and Alpecin. Those teams have new lead-outs as well, with Sinkeldam and Pedersen. Those guys are better, no?
Yeah, Sinkeldam, especially when he was with Dimash, that was a really good duo. Pedersen, I don't know yet if he is really going to be one of the great ones, the great lead-outs. But he still has time to learn from Morkov at Quickstep this year. So he'll definitely be able to improve.
I want to see Sinkeldam with Philipsen. That will be a huge duo, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
for sure.
Philipsen in the past year has sort of proven that he doesn't really need a lead out. So to actually see him sprint with one would be kind of interesting to see. But of course, they also brought in another sprinter with Groves.
Caden Groves, yeah.
So how's that sprinting going to look?
I think it will be quite an important season for Caden Groves because he's a young and talented rider, but I think he has something to prove this season. Like, if he underperforms, it could be bad for the rest of his career, I think.
Yeah, there's definitely something to that. But I think that it's definitely true, although he still has some time to prove himself. But this is more of a... I don't want to speak badly about Jaco, but with Alpecin, they're definitely taking their sprints more seriously with Philipsen and last year as well with Menij. I think they have more of a sprinter on the road, at least, sprinter culture.
Well, last year I had the feeling that with Ricard being injured, they were missing the big lead out. Now they have Sinkeldam, but they don't really have anyone else, I think.
They bought Jensen Plowright as well, and if I recall correctly, he's a sprinter as well, still very young, 22. But
So he could be the guy for Caden Groves then.
Yeah, he can fit in the train, I think, and he can be taught to do his work perfectly because he's still young. And he
Robert
has a
Hayes
lot
is
of
also at the
potential.
team
Yeah.
next year, so I think he could be one of those guys as well.
And don't underestimate Kragh Andersen as well, Søren, because he will get his chances for himself, but he has a really big engine and he can ride really fast to get the sprint train in position in the final K.
So here we are. You mentioned Søren Kragh Andersen. Quinten Hermans is there as well. Were those guys, I wouldn't say the missing link for Mathieu van der Poel, but they will be very important, I think, for him.
Yeah, I love those transfers. They are... I even think they are phenomenal. Like, it was always Van der Poel on his own in the big classics, or almost on his own. And now with Kragh Andersen, Hermans, who I think has a lot of potential if he's used in the proper way. And
Could Quinten Hermans
Yeah.
be the Christophe Laporte for Wout van Aert?
Oh, for sure. I think so.
yeah, I think so. Certainly.
Considering what he did at Liège-Bastogne-Liège, I think clearly he has it in him to win big races as well, or help out in the final, and then still be able to sprint if needed. Yeah, I think that's going to be really big for Van der Poel, to have someone there that he can poker with, saying, well, I'm not going to chase him. You guys solve it.
We talked about Jumbo-Visma earlier. Their big opponents for the Tour de France, normally it will be Tadej Pogacar once again. What do you think of his team? A lot of people said that UAE Team Emirates wasn't strong enough compared to Jumbo-Visma. Is it the case now?
There are stronger riders in the team. I'm not sure if it's a better team, because you have some very confusing riders with Adam Yates joining, Vine joining. Those are guys that Adam Yates has been going for classifications in the Grand Tours. Vine is someone who I expect to be able to go for those GCs in the Grand Tours in the next couple of years, maybe even this year if he gets the chance. I don't know if that will happen. But who's going to be the Domestique?
So the new Domestique will be Grosschartner then?
Yeah, I mean, he's a good Domestique.
And
Sure.
Novak as well.
Mm-hmm. And what about Tim Wellens?
I have no opinion about Tim Wellens.
That's it.
Yeah, but you should have, as I asked you a question, Yves.
I hope his new team will do miracles for him, that he's not only at a good level in February and at that end of the season. He should have moved on from Lotto earlier, in my opinion.
We all know you're
But
the
yeah.
big Lotto hater. Wellen said earlier in an interview that he has a new way of training now, and he never felt better. So isn't that good?
I mean, it'd be kind of awkward if you said the opposite after joining a new team. Yeah, I think with Pogacar also wanted to ride Little Van Vlaanderen. Having someone there that has ridden that final quite a few times and knows the roads and is able to help him, maybe that is something that Pogacar needs. Although personally, I don't think Pogacar needs to be helped or taught how to win a race. I think he's perfectly fine with himself. But it is definitely some experience in those Flemish races that Wellens will bring.
Maybe Wellens. I think Wellens will be the main leader in the semi-classics. No, those where Pogacar isn't there.
Do you think he will be the leader when Pogacar isn't there?
Yeah. Who else will it be?
Trentin wants his chance, for sure.
Yeah, Trentin is there. Yeah, but is he? He's not that much better than Tim Wellens. I think they're on the same level for me.
Yeah.
It's clear. Your opinion is very clear.
I'm more excited about the J Vine transfer.
Yeah.
It's I think we have talked about it with one of our other Domestique team members, and he predicts Jane Vine to have a really good Giro, and even watch out for him at the top of the general classification, because his raw stats, his power is insane. He's a Zwifter. He became big on Zwift, so Zwift is all about watt per kilo.
Mm-hmm.
And if he's trained in a more an even more professional way than he is with Alpecin, he will have a stellar season, I think.
As I said in that conversation as well, I'm a little afraid, I hope they won't ruin him. They really have to use him in the right way. Don't put him in the train and give him a free roll. That's what he needs, I think.
I think they won't, because is Vine worse than Almeida? I don't know. Almeida had the chance to be leader a couple of times now, and
But maybe
he
they'll
didn't
start the
win.
same way as they did in La Vuelta with Ayuso and Almeida. They can be co-leaders, no?
yeah, for sure. There will not be one guy who domestiques for the other. Vine will not domestique for Almeida when he thinks he has a chance of achieving something big, and vice versa won't happen either.
Will be interesting to follow during Giro d'Italia. Besides UAE and Jumbo, there's also Ineos, who's going with Bernal to the France. They brought in Damon Arendsman, Leo Hayter, Leonard, Connor Swift, and Joshua Tarling. What do we think of them?
It's clearly a strong team. I think especially bringing Arendsman in as for the Grand Tours, it is definitely something interesting. I'm still not 100% sure about how they're going to handle the GC with Drink Thomas getting a bit older and probably not going for the Giro Tour double. I'd be kind of surprised if he did. And focusing entirely on Bernal. Do they have the team strengths for that? They usually try to work with a trident, or at least in the past couple of years, to have multiple leaders. Maybe Arendsman as a backup, but
Arendsman is going to the Giro, right? With G?
oh, right, yeah, that's true.
He's going to the Giro as a co-leader, I think, even.
Well, I think there is a big chance he will be better than G.
That's a bold
Yeah,
prediction.
But I think he's he has a lot of talent as well. Like we have said, a lot of guys have a lot of talent, but Ineos is always the team who's been very professional, who's monitoring riders quite well, and I think they bought Arensman as a real leader within the team. If it's not next season, it will be the season after that, but he's brought in the team to be a leader, a Grand Tour leader, in my opinion.
So they have a new leader, but they also lost one with Richard Carapaz. He's going to EF Easy Post together with Amador. That's an interesting duo, I think.
Yeah, Carapaz leaving it will hurt Ineos, I think, because he was the guy within the team who could stay the closest to Pogacar and the other big talents last season. They had a bad luck with Bernal, of course, who couldn't ride properly. So it will hurt Ineos, and it's a really good transfer for EF.
But is it a good
Amador
transfer
as
for Carapaz himself? Will he find the support he needs in a Grand Tour at his new team?
I think it is. Like, he brought Amador as well. I'm a big fan of Amador, as I rate him very high as a domestique. And besides that, you have a pretty strong team actually to support Carapaz.
So you think guys
The
like
Ironmans?
Nielsen Paulus, they'll be domestiques from now on?
But there are 3 Grand Tours, so Carapaz will not ride all 3.
He'll
And-
ride 2 of them.
Yeah, and I already said I'm not a big fan of Paulus being a Grand Tour leader. It's, in my opinion, I can say it doesn't suit him, but I would like to see him ride more freedom, attacking, picking stages, and not trying to fight for a 10th place in GC like last year. So yeah, you know.
What about a rider like Piccolo, which is a really interesting rider in my opinion, quite young as well.
Yeah, he is, but I still have my doubts about the team being strong enough to support the leader for 3 weeks.
I mean,
like,
if you
they
take the
have-
jersey on the last day, you don't need that.
No,
Like,
that's true. But
It's
still,
not a Jumbo Visma type team that is fine with taking the jersey in the first week and then controlling. To definitely more
do you think we can compare EF to the team Hindley had at the Giro?
Ooh, that's a difficult one. I don't think so.
Me neither,
I
actually.
think Carapaz has Amador, Simon Carr, Carty, Chavez, Kort. When he's at a high level, he can climb very well, very good. Honoré is brought in, Padun. I think it's a strong team. Uran is even riding there, but he will not domestique.
He's
never
never
in his
going
life.
to domestique.
Never. But I think the team is. Can you compare it with Bora and the Giro? Yeah, at a certain level, but it all depends on how the legs are in those 3 weeks for the team, I think.
That's also
Uh-huh.
a thing in EF education where the consistency of performance of the riders is so different across the season, where you have a rider like Carsi or Padun who can be like really great, like highest level in certain races, then you don't hear from them for months.
Yeah, like Carty, he had kind of a bad year last year. But I remember him, I think it was La Vuelta, which was his best Grand Tour. I really hope we can see the
Yeah.
best Hugh Carty once again in 2023, actually.
Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah,
Yves,
it was
you
nice
talked
to
about-
see him on the very steep slopes. He was always one of the guys who could stay in front. Like, it was incredible to see how tall the guy is, and but how sharp he He's so thin. It's just skin over bones. Yeah, I can say I really like him, but he's an asset for the pro peloton.
You talked about Mikel Honoré earlier. He's kind of the guy we may have forgotten about last year. I remember him saying in an interview he's dreaming about the classics. What is he able of?
For the classes themselves, it's very hard to say because he hasn't really proved himself at those races, partially because he's been in a team that, well, the spots to ride those races are expensive. There's a lot of competition for those races at Quickstep. So if those races are really his goal, then going to an ES is definitely a good move.
I really want to see him together with a strong Valgren, actually. That might be an
And
interesting
Bettiol.
duo. And Bettiol, yeah, of course.
And Kort, if he has a good day.
And
Mhm.
Kurt. Yeah. I like the team actually. It's a bit of everything. Some interesting individuals, like there aren't just the mainstream pro cyclists, like Bettiol. Sometimes can say
Most of the
some
time
weird
they
things
have
or
a
do-
lot of freedom. But with Carapaz arriving at the team, I'm a little afraid that might change.
Yeah, for the GC,
But-
at the tours Carapaz is going to be at, yeah, I think there is going to be a change in culture and how they have to ride. But in other races and definitely classics as well, they definitely still have that attacking style of riding. I'd love to
But
see
I think
Bisslinger do
Carapaz-
something this year.
Carapaz isn't the Grand Tour leader who needs a mountain train or have 3 or 4 domestiques at his side. He likes to make the race hard himself, and I think he suits within that team, and the team will still get freedom to do whatever they want, I think, because no one will expect AF to control a race or whatever, and if they have the leader's jersey in the first week, they just give it away, if it's possible. But I think it can work out perfectly for them.
We compared EF to Bora Hansgrohe, and at that team there's really one rider I want to talk about. I think, Yves, you might know him. His name is Bob Jungels. You created kind of a hype about him at last year's Tour de France. Do you think Bora is the perfect team for him?
Well deserved. I don't know. He had quite some trouble the last couple of years, and AG Desert still gave him the chance to grow towards his big and good level. And when he seems to reach that in the Tour de France with the stage win, a couple of months later he decides to leave the team to Bora. Bora is a very good team. I think I can't say it's disrespectful towards AG Desert, but it's not the nicest of moves, I think. And personally for him, he will get less freedom there than he gets at AG Desert.
Well, actually, I thought there's kind of a match between Jungels and Bora Hansgrohe. A lot of riders get some freedom at that team, and he's kind of the rider who needs that, I think. Don't you think he could do the same as, maybe not the same, but as Lennart Kemna?
As part of the mountain train?
And still have a lot of freedom to go for that stage win? Actually, I won't use him as a domestique. I won't use him as a domestique.
Yeah, I mean, it's one thing about the big GC races, but I'm more curious about what he's going to do in the classics, because in his days at Quickstep, he was of course one of the leaders there, and in the past couple of years we missed him at the classics. So will he be able to compete at those? And is Bora the right team for that? Or is he just going for the domestic role?
I don't know what's the idea of Bora is to bring him in. Is it to be their leader in the classics? Because I don't see someone else who's capable to lead the team in the Flemish classics, and Schachman can lead it in the hilly classics. But is he brought in as a domestique or as a part of the Grand Tour team, or is he brought in as a part of the classics team?
You can be in both, no? Like, I wouldn't use him in the Flemish classics, but maybe in races like Liège. Those races suit him, and then afterwards you can still be part of a Grand Tour team to go for stage wins.
He has a very busy schedule planned for 2023, starting in Valencia, going to Paris-Nice, Sanremo, Ronde van Vlaanderen, Amstel Gold Race, La Flèche Wallonne, Liège-Bastogne-Liège, Giro and Tour.
That's
a lot of racing. Yeah, I don't know. I'm looking forward to Bob Hype again in 2023.
Bob Jungle. Are there any other teams you want to talk about? Like, who are we forgetting about?
I would like to talk about Dunbar going from Ineos to Jayco, and then wanting to use him as a potential GC guy. As he's quite unproven in GCs, or at least in big GCs. I think it's a really bold move to go for that straight away without really having proof from that. What do you guys think of him?
I don't think his time trial isn't strong enough to compete for a win in a Grand Tour, I think. If you want to win a Grand Tour right now, you have to be phenomenal in the mountains and in a time trial, even if it's only 20 or 25 kilometers against the clock. You will not take back that time so easily in the mountains. You lose in the time trial. I don't know. I don't see Dunbar as a Grand Tour leader. Maybe top 10.
Even for,
I don't know.
For the biggest 1 week stage races, I think even... Do you think he can win those? I actually can't see him winning those.
I can see him competing. Winning, no.
Yeah, competing is,
but
is
like
easier than
being
winning.
Like top 5, maybe, or maybe even a podium. For like the Tour de Suisse, or maybe even Paris-Nice if he makes that his goal.
And maybe a question related to that: do you think he's in the right team to do so now?
He's definitely going to have the freedom to do that for those races.
He has the freedom, but does he have the team? I don't know. They brought in a lot for 2023. Pustelberger, Harper. I don't know what type of rider Engelhardt is, for example.
Philippe Ozana is interesting as well.
Yeah, that's an interesting transfer. But I don't know. Dunbar is like, he can surprise me next season. I will be happy if he proves us wrong and wins a big 1 week race. But I will not put him into my predictions anytime soon.
They brought a lot of riders in, but I doubt about the quality they brought in.
It is mainly riders of the second row or even third row of domestiques that are maybe trying to relaunch their careers. To have the Harper that clearly in Jumbo he wasn't going forward as a leader. Maybe he'll get that opportunity here. And you have someone like Stibar, who is probably going to be this last year. I don't know.
Is it his last year already?
It might be.
He has a 1-year contract, so
What do you think of him, like, as a classics rider?
I don't expect anything from him this year, to be honest.
me neither. Me neither.
He's
Like-
37 now. Like,
We will see him, but I don't think it won't be at the front a lot.
Yeah.
All right, Yves, you still have a team, or are we finished?
I don't think we have to talk about a team anymore, but about 2 guys who don't have a team yet, Quintana and Cavendish. How does their future look like for 2023?
Well, talking about Cavendish and maybe Kees Bol as well, they were supposed to go to Astana, but I don't know what the problem is over there. Are they still talking, or is it finished?
I mean, some
I think the first problem
sources
was
said it was confirmed,
went-
and then but the team never said anything. So Cavendish also never said anything. So I don't think it's confirmed.
Astana could use some more
and she's not
quality, I
on the
think.
team photo as well.
Yeah, that's true. They're not on the team photo, and they were quite like, "This is our team for 2023," and those guys are not there. And it's quite a statement in a way.
The big goal for Cavendish is to win that one Tour de France stage. Do you think that will be possible at Astana?
Sorry.
Yeah, that's the right
I think that's a good response.
the right answer.
I don't know. Would Cavendish dare to go to Pro Conti, a French team? Like he was supposed to go to BMB, but that project collapsed. Is there another French Pro Conti team
The question
who
is,
could take him?
which team still has a place left? Like, this season is about to start in 2 weeks.
Yeah, I don't think there's really a place for him anymore.
It's a sad thing to say.
Yeah, because I would love to see him take the extra stage. I love watching him race.
Total Energies has 25 riders in their squad, so they have possibly 5 free spots.
Are you going to take Cavendish and Sagan to the tour?
Why not? YOLO?
Sure, I guess.
Who says Sagan still
Yeah,
wants
I
to
know.
go to the Tour?
That's also true.
Yeah, and about Quintana, that's a completely other story. Like, we all know the problem. I think for Cavendish it will be difficult to find a team, but for Quintana it will be even harder.
Will it be the end of his career if he doesn't find a team in 2023?
How old is he now?
He's not the youngest, but not old. He's 32.
Still has some years in him, I think. But if he doesn't find a team this year, like coming back after a year out, it is difficult. If he doesn't find a team this year, I think he's going to retire. Or I don't see him riding in a Conti team, like the Team Medellin. I don't see that happening.
Together with Oscar Sevilla to the Tour of Colombia, why not? They're certainly gonna win it, that's for sure.
Yeah, they would
No,
have to.
I don't know.
Because that would basically have to that would be the requirement for his contract. I think. Let's say if he doesn't win that, then what's the point?
All right, guys. Those were the transfers of 2023, so that means we're completely ready for the new season.
Yeah, let's go.
Yeah, bring it on.
Next episode will be about our predictions of that new season. Are you guys planning something big?
I mean, I've already dropped my
Yep.
biggest bombshell, so the rest is more safe bets, I think.
What was the bombshell again?
The lead to win Milan Sanremo.
Right. And Josh said Gaudu to win the Tour. Yeah.
So
Incredible. It has to be on the domestic feed, but no comment.
Deli will win Sanremo and Ghent-Wevelgem, so big season for him.
Yep.
And Shari
And
Bosset will be there as well.
win. Yeah.
So that's one way
Stop
to
laughing.
finish the episode once again. All right.
Domestic hot takes.
See you at the next episode then.
I've got the spores, the sickness. There's the twins in my brain.